You're listening to the Let's Go Buffalo podcast. 3 pals, 2 teams, 1 city. The Let's Go Buffalo podcast. Your new favorite podcast for all things Bills and Sabres. What's up, everybody? You're listening to the Let's Go Buffalo podcast, your new favorite podcast for all things Bills and Sabres. Welcome to episode 1. Folks, there are so many amazing Bills and Sabres podcasts that are out there. You've got Locked On Bills with Joe Marino. You've got the Cover One Buffalo podcast with Greg Tomset and company. This is absolutely not going to be that. We are not members of the media. No one pays us to be here to do this. We are just 3 pals that absolutely love the Bills and the Sabres. And we decided as a group that we needed a void to scream into. So here we are. First things first, pals. Let's crack a beverage here, eh? Ready?
Yes, sir.
3, 2, 1.
Love that sound.
Love that sound, baby.
Delicious.
And we're going to pass it around and get a couple intros here since most of you, a.k.a. all 4 of you that will listen to this first episode, obviously don't know who we are. Tom, let's kick it over to you, buddy.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Tom. Grew up in Rochester, New York, and I'm freaking pumped to be here talking Bills and Sabres podcast with 2 of my best buds.
Very nice. Jake, how about you, pal?
Hey, I'm Jake. Yeah, also grew up in Rochester. I can't wait to be here talking about Bills and Sabres. I love these teams. I mean, I grew up a diehard Sabres fan. Kicked off watching. I'm going to get an unforgivable sin out of the way and talk about the '99 Cup run for Buffalo. Watching that team,
Woof.
and I've been hooked ever since, and heartbroken more than not. But ride or die by the Sabres, and I love the Bills too. Can't wait to be here talking about them with you guys.
Yeah, buddy. Tom, talk to us a little bit about your relationship with Buffalo sports. How'd you get involved, pal?
Yeah, totally. Grew up just as a Western New York family. I grew up in Rochester, but my mom's side of the family grew up in Orchard Park, right down the road from One Bills Drive. So it was a big deal. Every family gathering was all about the Bills. My great grandfather got me those rollout Topps cutouts of all the football players' cards, and got to take my scissors and cut up my football cards. It was the best. So,
Yes,
yeah, absolutely. I'm absolutely a bigger Bills fan than I am a Sabres fan. I'm very excited these 2 have been talking me some sweet nothings about these Sabres teams the last few years. So I'm very excited to actually dig my teeth in and get excited about it and learn about it and really get invested. I think there's going to be a lot of people out there who are maybe like me, who are a millennial, who maybe got a little disenfranchised with the Bills right through that drought. There's a lot of people who are very proud that they were Bills fans throughout the drought, and that's fantastic. There's a lot of us who are like, this is not fun. This is
Correct.
not a good time. And that was me. I was 11, right? I was 11. I just thought, I wanted to find what was cool. So I ended up being, I was a Mike Alstott fan and loved watching the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I had a Tampa Bay Buccaneers hat that I, rode to the ground and did all that. And as we got older and kind of reconvened with some friends and connected with these guys, came back into my Bills fandom. So I'm sure I'm not alone out there, but yeah, that's kind of where I connect with Buffalo sports.
Yeah, buddy. Jake, anything else you want to add to that in terms of your upbringing as a Buffalo sports guy?
Yeah, for sure, Tom. I remember your Buccaneers wallpaper in your room.
Oh, dude. Oh, yeah. Painted my room Buccaneers colors, and then freaking Tom Brady got traded. That was probably 15 years before Tom Brady got traded there. So I would like everybody to know that was a long time ago.
So help me God, Tom.
But we are not Buccaneers podcast. We're a Bill Sabres podcast here. For me, I remember going to Sabres and Amerks games when I was young enough where I had to be carried into the stadium and couldn't make it without falling asleep until through the third period.
Then when you're old enough to get carried out of the stadium.
That's happened more times than I'm willing to admit, but that's true. But yeah, same thing Tom said. With the Sabres too, in their own drought, it's been tough to be a fan through it for sure. But I think it's such a unique place right now where both teams are so fun to watch and on the uprise that it's just such an exciting time to be invested in these teams and talking about it with my two pals. So, I live and breathe Buffalo sports and just am pumped to be here. So,
Yeah, dude.
Tom, what's up, buddy?
If we had any kind of intelligence, we would be Buffalo Bandits fans, the only Buffalo franchise with a championship, right? That's maybe what we have to, all three of us have to get into.
Well, so here's the kicker with that, dude. You might not even be aware. There's in the exact same league, you have the Rochester Nighthawks.
Yeah.
So, like,
oh, yeah.
Depends on. So, like, I like growing up, still Bills.
I was a Nighthawks fan. Yeah.
Yeah, I went with the Nighthawks. So I guess it depends on how intense your local allegiances lie.
Right, but yeah, out of all the Buffalo franchises, maybe that's the one we should really be.
If we had any intelligence, like you said, which we do not. So, in terms of me, I definitely started off as a hockey fan first. That was I played both growing up, hockey much less so than football. I think I only played for a couple of years, but I was super, super, super hooked on all of it so early, and kind of came into that on my own. My dad grew up playing, like backyard sports with his pals and stuff, and it was never forced on me. I kind of became this absolute sports nutcase all on my own. Started off as hockey and Sabres, and I have a Miroslav Shatan jersey that I got when I was probably 8, leaving my first Sabres game. That was very cool. And then a couple years later, I started playing football, and I was like, all right, so I'm a Bills fan now too. And it all just kind of snowballed into this absolutely tapped individual that I am today when it comes to both. So the fellas kind of alluded to it a little bit. Tom comes from more of a Bills background, whereas Jake comes from a bit more of a hockey Sabres background. And both of them don't know a ton about the opposite. Not nothing, but maybe not as much as the sport that they got into first. Go ahead, Tom. What do you got? Nothing. Close to nothing for Tom. And whereas I kind of am pretty equally obsessed with both. If I had to pick, I actually just said to my pops today, I was like, you know what, man? I might be more excited for the Sabres season this year than I am the Bills. But you've said
that a few times. I've heard you say that out loud a few times.
I think it's just because we know where the Bills are at, and we've been at the same spot for the last little bit, right? Like we absolutely body the regular season, and then get our hearts broken in the playoffs, which is not labeled the season as a failure. That's not to say that those are unsuccessful. But you remember how excited you were when the Bills were just about to they were primed for that first playoff run. That's where the Sabres are going into this year, dude. And I am just absolutely beside myself about it.
I'm here at the right time.
Yes, yeah. You're coming in at the right time. Jake, what do you got, buddy?
That's what we want to do. That's we realize that both these teams, Bills more so, have come out of their slumber, if you will, but they're ready to emerge, and we want to bring in the Buffalo fans that have been maybe disenfranchised with those teams over the years, and bring them in. Maybe you don't know a lot about hockey, but that's what we're here to teach you about, and just chat with each other and maybe teach you a few things along the way, but we'll see how that progresses.
100%. Yeah, we'll get into that in a few minutes here. I'm gonna keep it light for our first little segment here. We're calling this.
So proud of us for having segments. Look at us.
I know, dude. How about that? Can you believe that? And I think before we started recording, I used the word segue, which what a great podcast term.
Now spell that one.
SEGUE, master's degree. What's up, dude? So first little segment here, we're going to keep things light, man. We're going to call this Beer Corner. You heard the three of us snap a beer right off the hop here in the podcast. So, Jake, why don't you go ahead and tell us what you're drinking, pal?
Great idea. I'm drinking a can from Grimm Brewery in Brooklyn, where I used to live. It's a Wave Table IPA, and it's tasty.
You got a session there, West Coast, East Coast?
It's more East Coast, Northeast.
A little hazy?
A little lighter than the full milkshake IPAs that you sometimes see.
Hell yeah, dude. Schmitty, what are you drinking, bud?
I am now a Vermont resident for the past several years, and where I plan to be. So I have just enjoyed just beer mecca. And this one is definitely towards the top of it. Lawson's Finest Liquids, Scragarita, a Pilsner with lime and sea salt. And I'm going to read the can because it's hilarious. Please. Straight from the Green Mountains to your face. Says it on the can. Yeah, right? They don't beat around that bush.
Yeah, no, love that, dude. Love it right to the face.
Very good. They put it right to you. Nige, what are you drinking?
Dude, I'm sticking to my Rochester roots here. I am absolutely crushing these Three Heads kinds, dude. So Three Heads is the name of the brewery. If anybody listens to this and wants to throw us a sponsorship, that'd be fine. But yeah, the Kind is just their house IPA, man. It's probably my favorite beer that I can get around me right now. I mean, I grew up doing the Ithaca Beer Company stuff. Flower Power was the name of my game for a while, but being back in Rochester for the last good chunk of time here, I've been absolutely loving these Kinds, man. Great can too. The logo is just unreal. So good.
I got a brain blast. We should keep a running list of all the beers we drink.
Oh, we should. You able to hop onto our Google Drive thing there?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw it in there, bud. So that way all of our loving and adoring fans can drink right along with us.
All 6 of you. Shout out to all of our parents and probably our wives and girlfriends.
Well, it sounds like we got 2.
I'm going to be impressed if Katie listens to this. If Katie listens to it, then that means I've done something right. So.
Dude, my girlfriend, it'll be 5 minutes, and then she'll be like, "I love this guy, but this is just the sports man, not my bag," which is totally fine.
My wife won't even click the icon I send her. No shot.
Yeah, that's all right, dude. So shout out to our parents that are going to listen to this.
At least we're cute, you know.
That's I mean, speak for yourself, Tom.
Thank God the video's not going on this thing.
Yeah, we'd be canceled already.
Oh boy!
All right, boys, what do you think? Should we toss it over to our next segment?
I think we should.
All right, so before we get there, part of what we're talking about doing here, and Jake alluded to it a little bit, but part of this is going to be sort of an informative thing. So kind of like the boys were saying, if you're someone that has been a Bills fan and you've just watched the Sabres absolutely suck for the last, what is it, Jake? Now 12 years we haven't made the playoffs?
I think that sounds right. Yep.
Yeah, something like that. And now that you're seeing they're starting to get good and you're looking to learn a little bit more about the game, we're going to do some of that. And the opposite is going to be true too. If you've been, just clinging to the Sabres for dear life and haven't really gotten into the Bills too much and are starting to think about that, this is going to be a good spot for you too. So I think we've all got people in our lives that we want to share this stuff with. And, if you want to pass this podcast along to them in order to teach them a few things, this is a great place to go. So in honor of the fact that Bills players arrived to St. John Fisher for training camp today for physicals and all that stuff. Hey, gotta love it.
There we go. Sorry.
I think we're going to primarily focus on the Bills side of things today. So this segment is going to be called Noob Cues, as in newbie questions. And the way this segment's going to work is whichever of the guys, aka Jake or Tom, are less familiar with the team, they're going to be the ones that kind of lead the discussion. And those of us that are and I'm going to say this with massive parentheses around it, the experts on the team, we'll kind of answer those questions that the noob has, and this will be the informative segment of the podcast. So since today is going to be a Bills day, I'm going to toss it over to Jake as the guy that leans more into the Sabres and is looking to become more of a knowledgeable Bills fan, and he's got some noob cues for us. So Torpedo, let it rip, brother.
Do I ever? So let's get down to basics. I know that Bills players reported today. Talk me through camp. What's the process like? How long does it last? What are some key dates for roster cuts? When are final rosters set? Like, talk me through the process.
Tom, I see Tom immediately went to work over there. I saw him. I saw the eyeballs get huge, and he's Googling something. So I'll start with, at least to me, right? The main thing for my understanding in training camp is to get your roster from a lot of people. What is it, 90 that go into camp, Tom? Something like that. It's a huge number. It's not like the Sabres where it's a fraction of that. So you come into camp with around 90 players. And that stretch of camp is basically where you find out who the 53 guys that are going to be on your team. That's where all the battles are taking place. So, like in this particular year, we've got massive, massive battles around cornerback 2. We have the right guard position. That's going to be a pretty prominent battle. So camp, the biggest thing, at least from my understanding, is going to be to whittle that down from 90 to your 53. That's the biggest thing with camp, at least in my opinion. Tom, what do you got?
The process goes August 16th, which is a few weeks into camp. We go from 90 players to 85. So those bottom 5 that maybe didn't make our roster gives them a chance to go make somebody else's roster. Other teams can sign and cut other players to join their camps. Then it goes down again a week later, 85 to 80. Again, Only 5 players. It's not a lot. And then the big cutoff is August 30th, which is the end of preseason, or right before the first preseason game, one of the two, 80 down to 53. So Nigel, just how Nigel explained. We start, players report today. You get all those beautiful pictures of Matt Milano and Von Miller.
Oh my God, I love it, dude.
Joshua Patrick Allen walking down the steps into One Bills Drive. And guess what? We also saw Mr. Stephon Diggs walking his way. He's here, boys. He's here, right? We're getting. It's step one of putting this stupid narrative to bed. But step one of Diggs might. Anyway, we'll get to that, I'm sure, later on. So we've got camp starts tomorrow, and then we go all the way through August 10th, and then we get into preseason time, which is even more fun.
Buddy. Other big thing for training camp, Jake, is it's not just whittling down the roster, but it's also like, Ken Dorsey, offensive coordinator going into his second year. This is, prime time for him to start implementing whatever scheme tweaks he's going to make too. So, there should be, especially given, recent draft picks and all that stuff, there should be some scheme tweaks and changes. So this is the time of the year where a lot of that gets put into action, right? Guys have had the playbooks now for a little while. But this is where you start to run that stuff live. So that's the other big thing.
You're hitting my question that I had queued up later.
Sorry, brother.
I was gonna no. This is good. So I was gonna ask, with Ken Dorsey second year, is he coming into camp with, all right, this is my game plan, this is how I want to run the year, let's find players that fit it, or is he looking at the players we have in camp and saying, all right, this is what our scheme should be based on these players?
Go ahead, Schmitty.
He absolutely is game planning for our specific players, right? He's going in knowing James Cook is probably going to be our lead back. What does that look like? Now we drafted Dalton Kincaid, traded up for him, first and a fourth, gone up and get him in the first round of the NFL draft. And now we also pay Dawson Knox. So what that big flag right there is saying we're probably going to have a lot of 2 tight end sets where we're going to have two tight ends on the field, which is not something we've done historically. So you better hope that he's been planning for that and he knows what he wants to look at. How does this going to change? And things like that. He's absolutely planning for these specific players.
I think a really important thing to remember there too is roster construction is a fluid thing. Like, you have your dates where you have to get down to a certain number, and you have that date at the end of August where you have to get down to 53. But it works the same way as hockey, pal. Where you have your off season like free agency. You assemble. You get like 90% of the way there with your roster construction, and like coaches have an idea of the guys they want to go after. Once you solidify those players and, okay, we didn't get this guy, but we got, the tier below that, that's when, okay, now we've got all of our players in place. Like, how can Ken Dorsey effectively as possible, put these players in the right positions to succeed, identify mismatches with defenses and all that stuff. So in that sense, it works very similar to hockey where the roster stuff happens first. It gets mostly settled. And then, you start to implement playbook stuff.
Yeah. So it's a good lead into my question about James Cook as emerging as the leading back now.
Yeah, buddy. See you, motor.
2-part question, maybe. What are you hoping to see from James Cook? And then the second part of that is, what kind of changes are you hoping to see from Ken Dorsey to enable James to Cook?
Ooh, James to Cook.
That's what you did there, man.
Yeah, dude. God.
Poet.
That's why you're the smart guy on the pod, bro. You want to go first again, Tommy? I can go on this one. Buddy. So I would say so Devin Singletary, now down in Houston, has been the Bills' leading rusher since he was drafted. I think 4 years, right? Tom, he's been on the team.
Yep, 4 years.
So he's been leading the team in rushing yards since he came in. I think, if I remember correctly, he averages around 200 touches a year, if I remember correctly. I might have to double. Yeah, Tom, if you don't mind. Thanks, buddy. So right then and there, dude, that's a guy that was, occupying 200 touches of the football over the course of the season. That's 200 touches that are now going to be allocated elsewhere. Now, Cookie isn't the only new running back that we have. We also have Damian Harris, who came over from the Patriots. What's up, Pats fans? And we've also got Latavius
They're so
Murray.
salty.
Dude,
living in New
I
England,
don't
I'm going to tell you
blame
right
him,
now,
man.
they're very sad that
I
Damien
don't
Harris
blame
was
him.
signed with us for $1.7 million.
Yeah, dude, they couldn't give him that money. That's whatever, your loss, our gain. And then we've also got Latavius Murray, who is probably going to be the third string running back, but a big, powerful guy who notoriously is really, really great in short yardage conversions. So there's 200 touches there. I would like to see somewhere around 125 of those to go to James Cook in some capacity. Now there's other touches available too. We had guys that were, like last year, the James Cook touches, right? I don't remember exactly what he got behind Devin Singletary, but things just get reallocated. But when you lose a guy like Motor, who touched the ball that much, you've got a lot of places where that can go. Now to add that to the second portion of your question there, I think the place where James Cook can really, really, really be the biggest asset for this team is in the passing game. He's far more of a dynamic athlete than Devin Singletary was, which, I mean, Motor was still good, but he never had that top end speed. Tom, how many times did we watch him bust into open space only to get run down by a secondary player or even a linebacker?
He was so shifty. He was awesome to watch, but then you knew that, okay, if he's in open space, he's going to get 10, 15, maybe 20 yards on a good run, but he's going to be caught.
He's not going to the house, which is the difference between him and James Cook. James Cook, you get him into that open space, he's got that second gear to take that rock the rest of the way to the end zone. So I think a smart thing to do in terms of properly utilizing James Cook, we'd never do these, but get the screen game going a little bit. Find a way to manufacture touches for James Cook in space, right? That's the place where he is going to be, like, he could break a game there, man. Like, and going into the season, man, like, he's the X factor for me on offense. Very easily could be Dalton Kincaid, but when you've got a dynamic athlete like James Cook just chilling in your backfield, you have to find a way to get that ball in his hands, and you have to find a way to do it in space because he's not a huge guy. Once he gets wrapped up, he's going to go down. He's not going to break tackles, but man, you get that ball to him in space, bro. Watch out, Schmitty.
He's going to be a problem. And I think I want him to build on the progress he made throughout last season. We've heard our good buddy Joe Marino, right? He has said probably at least 2-3 times on his podcast saying that James Cook made the most progress out of any Buffalo Bill in the 2022-2023 season. And I would agree with that. Absolutely he did. He looked night and day from weeks 1 through 4, and then you go 13 to 17, right? Like a different player. And I want him to keep going with that. I want him to feel more comfortable with the scheme. I want the line to be more comfortable with him. I think that's going to be an undercover kind of aspect of this. Is hopefully our offensive lineman, our O-line is going to take a step. I think it really will. I don't think it's going to be top 10. I really don't. But I think we can go. I can't remember where we were ranked, but we were bottom third of the league. If we can get close to like halfway, 16 to 10, right? Somewhere in there, I think the line can take a step forward, get more comfortable knowing what James Cook is trying to do behind them. I think he's going to make some big noise. And then I think that's also underrated saying that we have Damien Harris and Latavius Murray, who are both veterans who every time they touch the ball, they're producing. Right, they're contributors. They're there, and I think this is the best depth that I remember the Bills having at running back in a long time. I gotta say, we gotta shout out real quick. Poor Nyheim Hines.
Oh my God,
poor guy. Right? Like, are you kidding me?
Such a brutal. Oh my God,
a couple days before camp, that poor guy, like. And you got to imagine, right? I mean, who knows? We don't know all circumstances. We don't know everything about it. Maybe something else was happening. But he was stationary on his jet ski, and then he just got T-boned by somebody else. Oh, my God.
Dude,
that's crazy.
You're a professional athlete. Your body is the way you make your money. And, I mean, obviously, we don't know all the facts. Like, I guess I can't at this point definitively say that he wasn't at fault in any capacity.
Right. And I don't think we will.
Hard to think that if you're at a standstill on a jet ski, that it's not somebody else's fault. But, I wasn't there, so I'm not going to speculate too much. But, yeah, you're right, dude. Absolutely. Just brutal.
And just feel so bad for the guy.
Leads me into a special teams question, because I know Nyheim Hines, we all remember him returning those kickoffs after the Hamlin. Right? Like, that was incredible to watch.
Yeah.
Goosebumps.
Oh my God, dude. One of the greatest days of my life.
Best moments. Incredible. But who's doing that this year?
Go ahead, Tom. We both know.
I think it's Hardy. It's our new pickup from New Orleans. Am I saying that?
I don't know if he came. I don't know if I think
Hey,
there was a stop in between. Yep, I can look that up.
Do a little tippy tappy for me and go look that up for me.
Go
I'm pretty
produce
sure
this
it's New
thing.
Orleans. This guy is just a weapon, right? In the same way that Nyheim Hines is a weapon. Honestly, it was gonna, if both of them were healthy going to the season, I was very curious of who was gonna get it because they were both very capable. This guy has very sure hands. Like, he does not drop the ball, right? He does not muff any punts. He does not muff any kicks, and he's a weapon. I'm honestly, I was listening to Locked On Bills today. I'm sorry, folks. You're going to hear me talk a lot about Joe Marino and Locked On Bills because, man, that guy has it down.
It's our Bible.
But he talked to this morning about how Hardy was coming in ready to be more part of the offense. Well, now if he has more receiving responsibilities, he's going to be doing a lot more of that. I'm curious of how much offensive responsibilities he have because I was actually really wanted him to. We don't have a lot of the yards after catch kind of people, so people who can catch the ball in space and then do something with it. Oftentimes, we all seen Stephon Diggs catch his ball, look at the defenders around him, and just hit the ground, which is fine, right? I want him to be able to play until he's 37. Like, I would love that. I don't blame him.
Business decisions, baby.
I totally understand, right? And that's not really his bag. He's shifty. He can create space in his route running, but he's not a explosive athlete. I mean, he's an NFL athlete. He's an explosive athlete. Amongst them, he's not an explosive athlete. And but I was excited that now that we have Trent Sherfield, we have Hardy, like we have all these players that are now going to be able to do this and help Josh Allen out, and not make him have to do all of this work on his own. I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, dude.
that is exciting.
100%. Yeah, Tom, shout out you. You're right. Deontay Hardy only with the Saints thus far in his career. So well done there. Yeah, dude, he's rocket fuel, man. He's so freaking fast. And I think Tom mentioned that he does have, like, he's got all pro status on his resume as I can't remember if I think it's as a punt returner. I don't think he was all pro as a kick returner, but he's just dynamic in that sense, dude. So I think what you lose a little bit going from Nyheim Hines to Deontay Hardy is kind of what we experienced when we went from Andre Roberts to whoever was catching kicks after that. You just lose. There you go. Thank you. You lose that assuredness that they're just going to make the right decision every time. Yeah. And Nyheim Hines was a guy that, like, when he caught the ball, and that was the other thing, I knew he was going to catch the ball. He wasn't going to muff it. When he had the ball, dude, he was going to make the right call. He was going to take a knee if he needed to. He was going to, pick the right lane, as we saw him do against the Patriots, not once, but twice after the Damar Hamlin game. My God, I'm getting chills thinking about it right now, dude. Good Lord above. Tom, we were
one of the best moments. We were one of the best moments of our Bills viewing lifetime. Eventually, this is a podcast idea. We have to do like the Mount Rushmore of Sabres moments and Mount Rushmore of Bills moments. That's a podcast idea.
Write it down, Schmitty.
Definitely.
So yeah, it'll be likely Deontay Hardy for that, Jake. Dark horse is going to be Khalil Shakur. He did that in college. Again, he's just not as dynamic as Hardy is in that sense. So Khalil Shakur, we drafted last year, as he's kind of been playing as like a slot receiver for us. This year, probably going to be somewhere around the ballpark of wide receiver 4 would be my guess. Maybe he pushes for a wide receiver 3 spot. Who knows? But that's a guy that's also could be in the running for, like, he'll probably be back there with Deontay Hardy on kick returns. But I would imagine punts and kicks are primarily going to be Deontay Hardy.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, tough competition, tough guy to replace in Hines there.
Yeah.
So I know I've been asking some real brain busters. Let me get back to the noob questions here.
Yeah, buddy.
When they're in training camp, are they playing at full speed, full contact?
No, they aren't. So for the most part, I gotta remember. I'm not sure of the schedule of that, but no, a lot of times they're playing just helmets and pads. Right? They're running routes. The training camp So let me back up. So no, they are not. Oftentimes players are in much, not even full uniforms, not even full pads. A lot of times they're wearing these cool guardian caps, which they look like giant marshmallow men, right, with giant extra padding on their heads just to keep them and protect them.
I gotta get me one of those suits. I need one of those.
We
with
need
my
a
injury
full
history.
body suit for you.
Yeah, dude, we could all
this
probably
guy
benefit
needs
from having a guardian cap or
accident
two.
prone. But honestly, it's so, which is great, right? We're trying to avoid injuries in training camp. Knock on wood. Jesus Christ.
For sure.
And it makes things so a lot of times skill positions are easy to kind of see progress and see where they're at in training camp. But a lot of these very hands-on positions like D-line, like O-line, where they can't hit in the same way that you would at full speed, it makes it kind of tricky for them to like really get a gauge and evaluate in training camp. So those preseason games become really, really valuable.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, Tom, and you could be very right. I'm almost positive they start off with just helmets. Like tomorrow's practice is gonna be just
those
helmets.
Pictures we'll see.
Yeah. I think come like Tuesday of next week, something like that, Monday or Tuesday of next week, so later this week they'll put shells on the shoulder pads. All right, and it'll just be helmets and shells. I think by next week they are in full pads, but like Tom said, it's not constantly going live. There will be times where you see the training camp when you go, right? Like you can hear it. Okay, fellas, we're live here. And they're going. Like guys are hitting each other. Obviously, nobody's touching 17. Nobody's touching Kyle Allen. Nobody's touching the quarterbacks. And if you do, you are the complete scumbag of camp. And someone's gonna put you on your ass. But
cut the next day.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably.
If you're one of those bubble players and you put a finger on Josh Allen, you better just go back to your dorm room in St. John Fisher and pack your stuff. So it starts off pretty mellow, just like, implementing schemes and stuff like that. And then once that stuff gets implemented, man, there's a decent chunk of it that is live. I only know that. I'm obviously not a part of the organization. I only know that from going to watch camp. They usually start with like position drills and stuff like that. And then the end of practice is usually at least a little bit of live stuff, except for the quarterbacks. But yeah, like Tom said, like until the pads go on, like that's like you need the pads to go on and some of it to be live to assess your trench players, right? Like we want to see, like we got to figure out who's going to be the starting right guard, and the only way you're going to find that out is when push really comes to shove and these guys are going at it. Tom's 100% right where preseason games are like the main thing for that because you're finally not going against your own boys. But there are portions of training camp where it is bills on bills. And, you got guys that they're not going to hold back, man, because again, those bubble players, like they're trying to make a statement and they're trying to pop somebody and show
playing for their job.
Exactly. Show McDermott and company that they're for real and they recognize that it's camp, but they're not going to back down from anything. So it starts off mellow, but I mean, you see it every year. Training camp fights like Josh, was it Jordan Phillips that Josh got into a scrum with last year at training camp? I'm 99% sure. Like just Phillips stepped on him wrong and Josh, got pissed and they were throwing. So, it gets intense, man. But some of that will be live because you have to assess that stuff, bro.
Intensity is never a bad thing. I got one more quick one before we get out of here.
Pick your last one because I think we should probably move on to our next segment here.
A real quick one. I want to hear, in the spirit of newbie, I want you guys to pick a name I've never heard of that's a dark horse candidate to make the team, and 1 or 2 sentences on why you think they might.
Throwing us right into the deep end here.
All right, I'm gonna go first. You ready?
Go ahead,
it's not easy. It's not easy to find, or it's not hard to find a name that I don't know. So let it rip.
A big question going into camp is going to be middle linebacker. We just lost our golden child, Tremaine Edmonds. Yeah, the Predator. Man, it's so cool seeing them. Side note, it's so cool seeing him and Milano on top 10 linebacker lists across the league.
Didn't that feed your soul?
We could have kept him. Can you imagine?
Oh my God.
Anyway, so we got to fill that spot, right? We got to fill that spot. So my one dark horse for me is Balin Spector. who was, I
Ooh.
believe, a 7th round draft pick last year,
Correct.
2022 draft pick. But I'm not sure if he's going to be really in that middle linebacker kind of conversation, but I think he has a good shot of making this team because he is a special teams ace. He's one of these guys that Brandon Beane, I'm sure it just adores. I'm sure he's on his favorite list because Beane loves him some special teams. So I'm not sure if he's in that middle linebacker conversation. He might be, who knows? But I think he's definitely making the team because he's got some special teams contributions to make.
He's
Good
also, I don't know if this was news to me. I found this out the other day, just happenstance. And I guess maybe I don't remember the tweet exactly, but I'm pretty sure he, in terms of like size, he is like the biggest guy that's there, man. Like in terms of it, like closest to Tremaine, I think he's the guy that has the most like size and all that
Could
stuff.
be. I don't remember.
It's something where he's the most of all the linebackers. Either he's the fastest or the biggest or whatever. But Tom, that's a nice one, buddy. I like that one because he's often left out of the conversation for who's going to be the new starting middle linebacker. But you're correct. He's got a lot of upside there. I got lucky there. Nigel? I got lucky there because Tom went first, so I got to think about it for a minute. So, dude, I'm going to cheat a little bit because this guy, I'm pretty sure he's going to make the team either way. I think this guy is going to has the potential at least to be like sneaky, like the first backup at the guard position on maybe either side. But this is a dude who got injured last year, tore his Achilles, or maybe not tore, but banged up his Achilles. And the Bills
tore it. He was done.
Tore it.
Yep, it was
the Bills still signed him and brought him back. So there was something about him that they really dig, and that's Ike Botker, guard for the team. He started a couple games, including several games, including a playoff game or two. But this is a guy right now that I think on the depth chart is behind Ryan Bates, probably behind second-round pick Osiris Torrance, and maybe like even behind David Edwards, who's a guy that we have on the team right now that has a lot of starting experience at guard. This team, specifically Sean McDermott, has got a thing for Ike Botker, dude. There was never a time where he started where I was like, this guy is an absolute liability. I'm not sleeping on my guy, Ike. Great name, too. Shout out to one of my favorite Western movies of all time, Tombstone. It's a great character in that movie named Ike. But I digress. I think there's a really, really, really solid shot that Ike Botker could push for the second string, man. And I think he's going to make this team because we're not going to keep all, whatever it is, 6 or 7 of these guards that are going to be in camp. I think he's a sneaky guy to play a legitimate role on this team this year.
Yeah, good stuff, guys. Good stuff.
Yeah, baby. First big segment.
Before we go too far from newbie cues, do you have any clarifying questions that you think would be? And if you don't, that's cool. If we were very articulate and we described everything how we want it, how you want us to, then we can go on. But
yeah, because that's us.
You boys are very verbose. No, I don't think I have anything that's too mystifying right now. So
I'll send you a quiz after we're done, Jake.
Yeah, I'm sure to fail that like all the other tests I've taken, but
not multiple choice.
Well,
but
go ahead.
Before we get out of here, Tom, take it away.
Yeah, all right, here we go. So I think we're going to wrap up real quick with just what we're excited about for Bills training camp, and then we'll get out of here, folks.
Yeah,
so
man.
I'm going to start, and then Nigel will let you come back. I think we keep this like maybe 3 bullet points and nice and quick and sweet.
Real quick,
first thing that I'm really excited about.
Yeah. Sorry. So in between those 2 segments, Labatt, anybody that's looking to throw out a sponsor there, that would be the spot where we would do an ad read. So we're looking.
Goes right here.
We're accepting.
We like. I'm very creative. We will do any videos, any Instagram reels, like the kids say.
Yeah,
we can do
voices. We could drink on screen happily.
Hate doing that.
There goes 99% of the sponsors.
All right, Tom. Sorry, I cut you off, buddy. I just had to sneak in that this is where our ad read.
This is where our lovely Labatt Blue Light sponsorship would go. Yeah, you're
exactly.
Right.
Let it rip, bud.
So things I'm excited about for training camp. Number one. I'm very excited to hear from Stephon Diggs to come up to the microphone, clear everything up. I want him to go be a leader on the field. I want him to be participate in everything and be the freaking like unicorn out there that we need and that leader that we need. I'm ready for that. And I think he's ready too. I really do. But I'm really excited about that. I'm very excited to see our boy at right tackle, Spencer Brown, go in and just take that. He has this unreal athletic ability. He's a specimen, and we just need him to really take that step forward and just take the reins and declare himself starting right tackle. So I'm very excited to see that. And then in general, I'm really excited to see. This is the most depth that I've ever seen on this team. It's insane. At right guard, Nigel was just talking about CB2. Middle linebacker, there's a couple players. I don't know if it's the best of depth, but there's a couple players that could all be there, right? We have at safety, at wide receiver. There's a ton that we just need to kind of get worked out here during camp, and I'm very excited to see what happens.
Yeah, buddy. Jake, we know you're the newbie here, but is there anything that's sticking out to you? And if not, that's okay. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but is there anything that going into this season, just in general, maybe not specifically with camp, anything that's jumping out to you as you're like, I'm pretty stoked to see this, bro?
I won't give you 3 bullets because I don't have the brain capacity for it. But for me, I've heard so much about Dalton Kincaid and how good of a receiver he can be, like from the slot, that I'm excited to, and I feel as much as I love Dawson Knox, I'm excited to see the tight end position evolve for the Bills.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, dude.
Great point.
I think that is a great point, dude. I think having like a legitimate F tight end, which is essentially what Dalton Kincaid's going to be. So you have your F tight end, you have your Y tight end. I remember F tight end as the one. F is for fun. He'll do more of like the interesting stuff, whereas your Y tight end is typically your guy that's more in line off the tackle. Dawson Knox will remain that guy and continue to do a great job. His blocking has come so far, man. But putting Dalton, because Dalton Kincaid is going to play in the slot, man. I mean, he'll have a couple inline plays, but you're absolutely right, dude. That is going to be such an awesome thing. Like you can probably hear it in my voice right now. I'm thinking about watching like the first Dalton Kincaid clip coming out of camp.
And I'm like, it's gonna come.
It's gonna be as soon as tomorrow, dude. Guaranteed.
Oh, absolutely. If the Bills media team knows anything that's good for him, they're gonna get a good clip of Sir Dalton Kincaid doing something ridiculous.
Yep. All right. So for my 3, then, big one for me, man. He's finally more than a year off of it. Inject, old time Trey White into my veins, bro.
Let's go.
I am so pumped to see this guy back at 100%, man, because
people have forgotten. People have forgotten,
dude. And it's please sleep on him, dude, because when this guy is on, he is a 50% of the field eraser, dude. And it is just it's impossible to find that guy so often of the time. And it took a little while. Like, he showed flashes of it, but when he came back last year, man, you started to see it towards the end of the year. He was getting more comfortable. And even at minicamp, dude, like a month and a half ago, I think it was Sal Capaccio on Twitter was like, dude, Trey is absolutely driving off that knee. And when I read that, dude, I was like, this is an absolute game changer for this team. So Trey White being back to Trey White gives me goosebumps.
Yep.
Sticking with the secondary, dude, the boys are goddamn back. Give me Poe, give me Hyde together on the field. Like, oh my God, dude. Losing Micah Hyde, baby. Let him cook, bro. Losing Micah Hyde in the second game last season was so gut-wrenching, and then Poe being just an absolute warrior all season, battling through so much.
Gutted it out. Yeah,
driving to the Kansas City Chiefs game when he couldn't fly. Like, I get like emotionally excited thinking about, because those two guys would run through walls for each other, man. So getting to see those guys back on the field together is just going to be so electric. Like that first, good luck, Aaron Rodgers. That first defensive drive against the Jets on that Monday night game is going to be it's going to be bone chilling, dude. I cannot wait. And then finally, man, I feel like I've said this before, man. 17 is ready to just take over entirely, man. Like it's there. The UCL is healed up, man. He's got the new weapon in Dalton Kincaid. I'm confident that James Cook is going to get into the passing game. Like I just think there's another step there, man. There's another gear for him to shift into. Like, your hot cars, man, are 6 gears. Josh is going to throw it into 7th, man. And he's ready, man. He's ready. He's poised. He got rid of the X, man. He's focused on football. Like, I'm so ready for him to just finally just do it, man. And I'm not going to sit here and say that he's going to be better than Mahomes. I think that would just be immature of me to say. But look out for this dude this year, man. For some reason, I didn't feel this good about the team last year at this time. But in my bones, man, I can feel the Josh Allen 50 touchdown, 6,000 yards this season.
Woo!
The potential is there, bro. And woo! Tom's got a soundboard.
I was waiting for that.
So yeah, man, I know that probably sounds cliche, and maybe he is already a ceiling dude, but I don't know, man. I just think there's a 7th gear to kick in there, and I'm gonna do my standard, put $100 on him to be the MVP, and I'm not gonna change that. What do you think, boys?
There's a lot to be excited about, boys. I can't wait.
Ooh, baby. Well, thank you, folks, for sitting down here with us for our first episode, the inaugural, the maiden voyage. And we'll see you next time. So this is, I am Tom. That is Nigel. That is Jake. And thank you so much for hanging out with us for a little bit here. And go Bills, go Sabres, and let's go Buffalo.